On Christmas Eve, CEO discovered a little girl hidden in trash. Her life-changing story revealed. James Ryder was known as a force of nature in the corporate world, a hard-nosed CEO who would crush numbers and competition with equal focus. But on this snowy Christmas Eve, sitting behind his sleek executive desk overlooking Chicago's twinkling skyline, he felt a hollowness that his accolades could not fill. The sound of laughter and music wafted through the walls from office holiday parties, each note a reminder of time slipped away and family ties frayed by endless ambition. He tucked his briefcase under his arm, ready to leave just as the evening chill crept in, but then, just outside his corporate bubble, a muffled sound caught his attention. Curious and slightly apprehensive, he stepped out into the alley behind the building, where the brilliant Christmas lights shimmered in the snow like distant stars. What he saw next made his heart stop. A little girl, no older than 7, curled up among a makeshift bed of trash and cardboard, her big, innocent eyes wide with fear. She wore an oversized coat that hung loosely on her small frame. In the midst of a world drenched in celebration, here she was, a heartbreaking reminder of those burdened by the cold, hard realities of life. As James knelt down, the cold bit through his tailored suit, but all he could feel was an unexpected warmth rising in his chest. Memories of his own childhood flooded back, growing up in a rough neighborhood with barely enough to eat. Without hesitance, he scooped her up and carried her to his car. "What's your name, sweetheart?" he asked, his voice almost a whisper. "Mia," she replied, her little hands trembling as they clutched the remnants of her coat. Mia opened up about her escape from an abusive foster home, her only shield being a fierce spirit and love for her mother, who was bravely serving in the military overseas. Each word struck James, rendering him vulnerable and raw. As festive lights twinkled around them, he felt an infusion of purpose igniting his weary soul. Could he, a man who dedicated his life to success alone, become a protector, a father figure, a true family man? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As they drove through the snowy streets illuminated by holiday lights, the warmth from Mia began to thaw the ice around James's heart. News of the encounter caught fire, quickly spreading through social media, igniting conversations about the yawning chasm between wealth and poverty. Mia's plight became a rallying cry, reaching layers of people who had turned a blind eye to struggling children during the holidays, making them rethink their own responsibilities. Just as James began to feel the community rallying behind them, a frantic knock at the window shattered that budding joy. A social worker, haggard and desperate, informed him that Mia's foster parents had reported her missing. The very system designed to protect her was about to drag her back into a nightmare, caught in a swirl of hopelessness and a fierce protective instinct for this little girl who had already faced so much. James grappled with heart-wrenching choices. As the snow continued to fall pure and promising behind the stark reality of their situation, he made a quiet yet profound realization: the journey toward true familial love and justice was just beginning. James's heart raced as he glanced at Mia, who peered out from the passenger seat, confusion mixed with fear in her wide eyes. The social worker's urgent presence loomed over them, a reminder that this moment of rescue could quickly dissolve into a grim reality. "Listen," the social worker pleaded, a weight of desperation behind her words. "I understand you want to help, but we have protocols. Mia needs to go back." "No." James interrupted, his voice rising with an unexpected intensity. "She's been through enough. You don't understand what she's escaping." Each pulse of his heart mirrored the urgency in his voice, fueled by a fierce protectiveness he never knew he possessed. The social worker's expression tightened, her posture reflecting years of weary experience. "But the system is here to provide safety," she insisted, though her eyes betrayed an ounce of doubt. Mia huddled deeper into her coat, her small frame seemingly shrinking at the prospect of being returned to darkness. It struck James like a thunderclap. This little girl didn't just need shelter from the cold, she needed safety from life itself. "Please," he continued, lowering his volume but maintaining intensity. "I'm willing to take her in. I can be responsible. I want to keep her safe." The social worker hesitated, her gaze shifting to Mia, who now looked up at them both, silently pleading. The snow continued to fall in thickening layers, muffling the world around them, creating a curtain of isolation. James could feel the weight of the moment, as if time itself had paused to allow for an answer. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, she sighed. "If you really want to help her, we'll need to act fast. I can connect you with someone who can get the ball rolling." The flicker of hope reignited in James as he nodded. "Do it. Whatever it takes." With urgency coursing through him, he helped Mia out of the car and into his arms, holding her close as if he could protect her from the entire world. The chill in the air faded against the warmth of his determination. However, even as he felt the tide turning in their favor, a gnawing anxiety crept into the back of his mind. What would happen once they escaped the clutches of those responsible for her current nightmare? He didn't know how to navigate the system, how to ensure she wouldn't be taken away again. Still, the thought of leaving her alone filled him with dread. Underneath the brilliant display of Christmas lights, James made a promise to himself and to Mia. He would shield her from the shadows that haunted her and offer her the love and security she had never known. As they stood together, wrapped in the fragile warmth of hope, he could feel a flicker of purpose igniting within. But as they turned to leave the alley, James caught sight of a figure watching from the shadows. It was a man, eyes dark and intent. James felt a chill run down his spine. Who was he, and what role would he play in this new chapter of their life? The snow continued to fall as the atmosphere thickened with uncertainty. With every step toward their future, James knew that challenges lay ahead. He could only hope that the warmth he felt would be enough to guide them through the darkness approaching fast. What could that figure in the shadows want, and how would it twist the fragile bond they were beginning to forge? James felt a knot tighten in his stomach as he locked eyes with the man in the shadows. His heart raced, the warmth he'd felt a moment before now overshadowed by a cold grip of fear. Who was this stranger? Mia, nestled safely against him, didn't notice the tension. She was quiet, her small hands clutching his jacket as if it were a life raft in choppy waters. The man took a step forward, his silhouette cutting a stark figure against the falling snow. "Hey," he called out, voice gravelly and low, yet there was something almost familiar about it. "You shouldn't be here." James instinctively shifted to shield Mia further, feeling the weight of her little body against him. "What do you want?" he replied sharply, trying to mask his fear with bravado. The stranger raised his hands, palms out, but his eyes remained focused. "I'm not here to cause trouble. I'm just looking out for her." The way he said it sent a shiver down James's spine. There was a knowing in his gaze that made him uneasy. "What do you know about her?" The man hesitated, glancing nervously down the alley. "Look, I don't have much time. There are people who will come for her. You need to leave, fast." James felt the air thicken with urgency. "Who are you? Why should I trust you?" His voice was steady but laced with apprehension, each question a barrier to protect Mia. "My name's Luke," the man said, his voice softening. "I used to work with the system. I know what happens to kids like her. They don't just get handed off without oversight. They get lost." The revelation hit James like a brick. "Are you saying she's in danger?" Luke nodded, an uneasy look crossing his face. "They'll find her. It's not just the social worker you have to worry about. There are people who don't play by the rules." Mia shifted slightly, glancing up at James. He could see the flicker of fear in her eyes, and it broke his heart. "We're not going back. I promised her." "I get that," Luke interrupted, urgency tinging his tone. But you need to act now. They have eyes everywhere. You can't afford to stay in one place for too long. The world outside the alley felt like it had grown darker, the flurry of snow now mingling with a sense of impending doom. James glanced at Mia, whose trust rested entirely on him. "Can you help us?" he asked, desperation creeping into his voice. Luke took a breath, considering. "I can give you a place to hide for a day, maybe two. But you'll need to think about a long-term plan. I know someone, a lawyer, who can help get custody sorted. But you need to keep her completely off the radar." James contemplated this for a moment. The flicker of hope sparkled again, but he knew it was fraught with risks. Trusting a stranger, even one who seemed to care, felt unbearably precarious. But what choice did he have? "All right," James decided, trying to inject his voice with firmness. "We'll go with you." "But if you're lying." "I'm not lying," Luke interrupted, his eyes bright with sincerity. "But time is short. Follow me." As they stepped out into the street, James's heart pounded not only with fear but with determination. He couldn't let Mia down. With each footfall against the snow, he became painfully aware of the dangers lurking just beyond their sight. Who else might be looking for Mia? And what happens once they emerge from the cover of darkness? The thought echoed ominously in his mind as they hurried into the night, shadows whispering all around them. Would this new path lead to safety or further into peril? James's grip on Mia tightened as they vanished into the wintry landscape, unaware of what awaited them ahead. Would they be able to forge a new life, or would the darkness consume them both? As they ventured deeper into the night, the biting wind stung James's cheeks like tiny needles. The alley they had just left began to dissolve behind them, swallowed by the shadows. Mia's soft breath tickled the fabric of his coat, an anchor in the unfolding chaos. He tried to suppress the rising worry, but anxiety twisted around his heart like a cold vine. "Where are we going?" he whispered, casting a glance at Luke. "Just a few blocks over. I have a friend who runs a shelter. They'll let us in." Luke's voice was steady, but James caught the flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. Did he really trust this man? Was this shelter even safe? As they moved, each step felt like a step into the unknown. The city streets lay blanketed in snow, the glow of streetlights illuminating their paths sporadically. They passed shuttered stores, the shapes of the buildings looming like silent sentinels watching their every move. "James," Mia said, her small voice breaking through his reverie. She looked up at him, her eyes wide with fear. "Are we going to be okay?" He knelt down, meeting her gaze. "Yes, babe, we're going to be okay," he said, but his heart was heavy with doubt. What if they weren't? What if this man, Luke, led them right into danger? They turned a corner onto a quieter street, and James caught sight of a flickering neon sign that read The Haven. Relief washed over him as Luke walked briskly to the door. He pushed it open and held it, a motion that felt both welcoming and foreboding. Inside, the warmth enveloped them like a cozy blanket, a stark contrast to the biting cold outside. A handful of people milled around, laughing and chatting, their faces illuminated by the soft lamplight. James glanced around, taking in the worn but comfortable couches and the festive decorations, a scattering of garlands and little twinkling lights. Luke approached a woman behind the counter, her face softening as she saw him. "Diane, we need a place for these two. They're in trouble." Diane's expression turned serious as she looked down at Mia. "Is she okay?" "Better than she was," Luke responded, kneeling to look at Mia. "But we need to keep her safe." As James clutched Mia close, he felt her body relax, the warmth of the space thawing some of the tension between them. "Come on, I have a spare room we can use," Diane said gently, leading them down a narrow hallway. Her voice was soothing, a balm to their frayed nerves. James followed closely, but a sudden memory tugged at him: Mia and her laughter, the promise of a Christmas filled with wonder. This wasn't what they had imagined. Could a chance like this really change anything for them? Diane opened the door to a small room, its simplicity stark yet inviting. This will work for now. The door locks, and we'll keep an eye out. Thank you, James said, caught between gratitude and disbelief. As they sat on the bed, he wrapped an arm around Mia, trying to shield her from the weight of what lay ahead. For now, they were safe. But would the safety last? What if they find us? Mia asked, her voice barely a whisper. Let us not think about that right now, he replied, forcing a smile. We can just breathe, we're safe for the moment. As they settled in, James could feel a flicker of hope dancing in the back of his mind. Maybe, just maybe, they could start fresh here. But beneath that hope lay the gnawing uncertainty of everything they had run from, and outside, hidden from view, a pair of eyes watched them come in and disappear. The night wasn't done with them yet. Would their sanctuary hold, or had they merely traded one darkness for another? James held Mia close, feeling her small body relax against him. The room smelled of fresh paint and something sweet, a faint hint of cinnamon. Outside, the wind howled like a ghost, but inside, the world felt still, as if the troubles they had escaped couldn't reach them here. Can we really stay here? Mia tugged at his sleeve, her trust pale beneath the weight of her worry. We're safe for now, he reassured her, pulling her closer. Just remember the smell of cookies and the twinkling lights. He was trying to hold on to the fragments of joy they had once known. Tomorrow is Christmas Eve. We'll have ourselves a little holiday right here. What if they don't let us? Mia's eyes glimmered with doubt, deeper than the shadows that danced on the walls. I don't know, honey, he admitted, his voice thickening. But we're going to make it through this, I promise. We'll do something fun. Inside, he was crumbling. This place felt like a temporary fix, like a bandage over a deep wound that wouldn't heal. They were only safe here if nobody found them. What if that outside force, whatever had driven them here, slipped through and shattered this fragile moment of hope? A loud voice erupted from the common area, laughter dancing over the air. It was a stark reminder of the life that seemed to elude them, the joy that felt so far away. Is that Christmas music? Mia perked up, momentarily distracted. James smiled, hiding his own unease. Seems like it. Would you like to listen? Yes. Her excitement was contagious. He stood up, pulling her along to the door. They peeked out together, watching a few other children sway rhythmically, their laughter ringing around the cozy space like bells. See? Look at that. It feels a little like home. He tried to ignore the knot in his stomach. But just as they enjoyed the moment, a sudden commotion erupted from a nearby table. A man slammed his cup down, his voice rising over the music. This is bullshit. We can't just sit here like nothing's wrong. The joy in Mia's eyes dimmed, her small fingers gripping his arm tighter. James felt the fear flood back in. The worry that they wouldn't be able to separate themselves from the chaos that followed them was a constant drumbeat in his mind. What's wrong, Daddy? She asked softly, her innocence making his heart ache. That he glanced back at her and forced another smile. It's nothing, sweetheart. Just some people upset about things. Let us not focus on that, okay? But in the pit of his stomach, unease was curling tightly. If the atmosphere here shifted, if the people gathered began to turn on one another, he might have to make a dangerous choice. Let us go grab some hot cocoa, he suggested, trying to draw Mia back into the warmth of the festivities. It'll warm us up and maybe we can find out what kind of cookies they have. Mia's eyes lit up again, and she nodded eagerly. I want marshmallows. As they made their way to the counter, James felt a pair of eyes boring into him. He glanced over his shoulder, heart racing. Was it paranoia or was someone watching him? A man stood at the entrance, his features obscured by the dim light. Just for a moment, their gazes locked, and an electric tension filled the air. James didn't feel safe, not anymore. What is it, Daddy? Mia asked, tugging at his hand. Nothing, he replied quickly, shaking off the feeling. He forced himself to focus on Mia's smile, the warmth of their little moment, but he knew their troubles weren't over. He grabbed the cocoa and turned back to the room, trying to forget the sensation that had dogged him. Now more than ever, he needed to protect Mia. That night, the shadows lingered just beyond the edges of warmth, and as laughter filled the haven, dread told a different story. Could they truly celebrate, or was the darkness still lurking, waiting to tip their fragile happiness into despair? As the night wore on, the joyful laughter of children punctuated the air like musical notes. James tried to immerse himself in the festive spirit, but the nagging feeling of being watched lingered, gnawing at the back of his mind. Each cheery chime of the holiday bells felt like a reminder that the world outside remained dangerous, unpredictable. "Let us sit by the window," Mia beamed, pointing to a table draped in twinkling lights. "I want to see the snow." James nodded, following her lead, though his heart ached at the thought of the outside world. The fresh winter snow was beautiful, yet it hid the threats he desperately sought to avoid. He couldn't help but wonder how far they'd come and how precarious their safety was. Even here, they settled, mugs of steaming hot cocoa in hand, the warmth wrapping around them like a comforting blanket. James watched as Mia carefully floated a dollop of whipped cream bedecked with colorful sprinkles onto her cocoa, her eyes sparkling with wonder. "Do you think Santa knows where we are?" she asked, a hint of worry creeping into her tone. "Of course," he replied, forcing a smile. "He knows everything. He's got magic, remember?" The mention of magic did the trick. Mia laughed, her laughter lighting up an entire room. But the joy cracked under the weight of the surrounding chaos. The man from earlier was still shouting, now pacing the room. A few others joined in, the conversation growing heated. James glanced down at the table, feeling the familiar fear creep back. "Stay close to me," he murmured, tightening his grip on the mug. Mia looked up at him, confusion mingling with concern. "What's wrong? Are we gonna go?" "Not right this second," he promised, trying to mask his anger at the man with a facade of calm. "It's just people get worked up sometimes. Like when you can't find your favorite toy." Mia took a sip, her brow furrowing as she processed his words. "But we're safe here, right, Daddy?" James wanted to assure her that safety was theirs. I wanted to tell her they were untouchable, that all would be well. But the truth was too heavy to bear alone. Instead, he squeezed her hand gently, she smiled up at him, and for a brief moment, nothing outside mattered. It was just him and his little girl, wrapped in a cocoon of hope. Then, from the corner of his eye, he caught a slight movement. The man from earlier had made his way across the room and was now standing just a few feet away, his gaze fixed directly on James. "You." The man's voice cut through the festive noise like a knife. "What are you doing here? You don't belong." The laughter abruptly ceased, and silence fell over the gathering. James felt Mia stiffen beside him. "Daddy, who is he?" "It's okay, Mia," he whispered, but inside, panic surged. The man stepped closer, eyes wild, voice rising novamente. "You need to leave. This is no place for you." James's heartbeat quickened. His protective instincts kicked in, and he stood, instinctively shielding Mia behind him. Fear gripped the room as whispers rippled among the others. "Stop it!" someone yelled, trying to calm the brewing storm. But the man refused to back off. "I'll expose you. You think hiding will save you?" Mia pressed into his side, her little body shaking as James steeled himself. The festive warmth felt like it was fading fast, replaced by an icy dread that clung to him like a shroud. He needed to act. A choice had to be made, and it hung thick in the air like the heavy, unfallen snow. "Let us go, sweetheart," he said quietly but firmly, taking Mia's hand as he prepared to move away. But just as they started to leave, a figure stepped forward, a woman with warm, gentle eyes but a fierce determination. "Wait!" she called, looking straight at James. You can't just leave. He doesn't know what he's talking about. James's mind raced. Instead of the warmth he had hoped for, the chill of the outside world threatened to swallow them whole. He was about to find out if there truly was safety to be found, or if this was just the beginning of a much darker Christmas Eve. Could he trust this woman? Would she stand between them and the storm brewing within the haven? The clock ticked on, each passing moment heavier than the last, as choices loomed in the shadows ahead. The silence hung in the air, stretching like a thin thread ready to snap. James glanced side to side, the murmurs of the crowd bouncing off the walls like echoes of their fears. The woman stood her ground, eyes locked on his, radiating a strange mix of resolve and compassion. He felt Mia's tiny hand tighten in his, seeking his strength. "Who are you?" James managed, voice trembling slightly as he fought to anchor his own rising panic. The woman took a step forward, unfazed by the man still raving nearby. "I'm Clara. I run a community program here. The things he's saying, they're not true. You and your daughter are safe." Mia peeked out from behind James, her wide eyes darting between the three adults, sensing the tension crackling around them. "Daddy, can we go, please?" Her voice wavered, the magic of the holiday rapidly fading. James felt a surge of protective instinct flood through him. "No, Mia. It's okay, but was it?" His eyes narrowed on the man, whose anger seemed to feed on the atmosphere, turning the festive vibe into a battlefield. Clara's voice broke through his spiraling thoughts. "You need to listen to him and me. He's driven by fear, not truth. You deserve to stay. You're not the only ones who faced challenges." James swallowed hard. "What do you mean?" Clara took another step closer, her gaze softening. "You're not alone in this. There are other families, people who come from tough places and found refuge here. But that man he's lashing out because he feels threatened. Unfortunately, it's misplaced anger." James frowned, feeling the weight of her words settle over him. There's a shared burden in this world, a truth he both understood and despised. "Let's just find a safe place for Mia," he started, but Clara shook her head gently. "No. If you let fear rule your decisions now, you'll miss what's right in front of you: the safety, the community." She gestured to the families who had been watching in hushed silence, faces painted with concern and understanding. "You'll find support here. I promise." The shouting man grew louder, the tension resonating through the room, but Clara didn't waver. "Join us," she urged. "You're here for a reason. Don't let fear drive you away." Mia looked up at him, her innocent eyes filled with curiosity and fear mingled together. Daddy James exhaled deeply, feeling the weight of the decision hang in the balance. His heart raced. He wanted to protect Mia, to shield her from everything dark in the world, but also to give her a chance at something more than just survival. "Okay," he finally said, finding a spark of resolve in his chest. "We'll stay." With that simple decision made, the atmosphere shifted only slightly, but there was a glimmer of hope as Clara smiled warmly, her relief evident. "Great," she replied, her voice steady. "Let's sit down and join everyone else. This is a festive night, and it's not just for those who live here. It's for everyone looking for connection and community." But before they could step deeper into the crowd, the man shouted again, edging closer, his face twisted with anger. "You don't know what you're getting into. You'll regret this." James's heart thudded as his instinct for protection reignited. He turned to face the man head-on, ready to defend Mia and himself if needed. A sense of determination surged through him, his new resolve fueled by the woman's faith. "Don't you dare threaten my family," he said, pushing back against the encroaching fear. As the tension built, Mia's hand slipped from his grip, and in that moment, James realized something: the risk of staying had now become greater than the fear of leaving. They had entered a world where choices meant everything, and the real battle was just beginning. "This isn't over," the man growled, retreating back into the shadows, leaving uncertainty swirling in his wake. James looked down at Mia, who had her small fists clenched with determination. "Are we really safe now?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "We will be," James replied, the echo of his own uncertainty hanging in the air. "Together, we'll keep moving forward. Won't we?" But deep down, the question lingered: how much danger still lurked in the shadows of the haven, waiting to reveal itself? What awaited them next in this fragile sanctuary on a night meant for joy? The crowd shifted, their eyes flitting from the angry man to James, then back to Clara. It was as if they were suspended in a moment of collective tension, waiting for the next move. Clara stepped alongside James, grounding him with her calm presence. "Come on," she urged softly, guiding them toward a gathering area where colorful lights twinkled in defiance of the darkening skies outside. Mia clutched her father's hand as they walked, but her eyes were still clouded with worry. "Wouldn't it be better if we just went home?" she whispered. James knelt beside her, his heart aching at the uncertainty in her gaze. "Home isn't safe for us, remember? We're going to be okay here. I promise." He hoped that his words would hold weight, wishing he could shield her from the world's darker corners forever. As they took their seats, James scanned the crowd. Families huddled together, sharing laughter, food, and warmth, with every face reflecting a story of resilience. Yet, the echoes of the man's threats still reverberated in his mind. Was this truly a place of safety, or merely an illusion loaded with hidden nightmares? Clara began talking with a few families nearby, introducing James and Mia. To James, they seemed like a tight-knit unit, supportive and kind. He couldn't help but feel drawn to their warmth. Yet there remained a shadow in his heart, flickering warnings that he couldn't simply brush aside. Suddenly, a little girl bumped into Mia, knocking over her Christmas cookie. "I'm so sorry," she exclaimed, her eyes wide. Mia blinked, the corners of her mouth twitching. "It's okay." James watched as Mia's expression softened, and the two girls began to chat, their worries momentarily forgotten. The laughter of children mingled with the festive music, lightening the atmosphere ever so slightly. This wasn't home, but it didn't feel entirely wrong either. As the gathering began to sing holiday carols, Clara stepped back over to them, her smile infectious. "You see, this is what it's all about. Community." She glanced at Mia, her eyes sparkling. "These moments matter. They can replace the fears we carry." Mia's brow furrowed. "But what if he comes back?" James felt a chill run down his spine. The threat remained, lurking in the shadows, waiting to pounce. "We'll deal with it together if it happens. No one is going to hurt you, I swear," he replied, his voice more confident than he felt. The songs continued, voices rising in a gentle wave, washing over the gathering with goodwill. Still, the man's voice echoed in James's mind. Later, as the night wore on and laughter filled the air, James stepped aside to catch his breath. He leaned against the wooden railing, staring into the dimly lit distance. How did a place that seemed filled with joy also harbor hidden danger? It made his stomach churn. Just then, Clara found him again, her expression earnest. "James, I understand you're worried. But trust me, the people here will protect each other. We're stronger together." He met her gaze, searching for truth in her words. "And if that man comes back?" She crossed her arms, exuding a steadfast confidence. "Then we face him as a community. You don't have to stand alone." As if on cue, Mia appeared at his side, her small hand reaching for his. "Daddy, can I sing the next song too?" James hesitated. Could he let go of the fear just long enough to let her relish this moment? He wanted to shield her, but perhaps this festive spirit could be a buffer, at least for tonight. "Sure, sweetheart. Let us go." But just as they began to join the others, a sudden loud crash shattered the air. The front doors of the haven burst open as the shouting man stood at the threshold, fury etched on his face. I told you this isn't where you belong. The festive atmosphere shifted in an instant. People gasped, turning toward the door, eyes widening in shock. James's stomach dropped. It was time to act, but what would it take to make this moment truly safe? The room fell eerily silent, the joyous sounds of laughter and music swallowed by the jagged edge of fear. James's heart raced, pounding in his ears as he locked eyes with the man who had disrupted their fragile peace. The anger radiating off him was palpable. "Get out!" The man shouted again, his voice slicing through the air like a knife. He stepped fully inside, his eyes sweeping across the crowd. Fear morphed into confusion, and then anger flared within the onlookers. People exchanged worried glances, some instinctively moving toward the exits, while others clung tighter to their loved ones. James, Clara's voice was low but firm, pulling him back from the edge of panic. "We can't let him take control. We need to show unity." James took a deep breath, pulling his daughter closer to him. What if he is carrying a weapon? His mind raced with worst-case scenarios, each thought darker than the last. She shook her head, determination in her eyes. "We can't run. Not now. We wouldn't be teaching Mia anything about facing fears. This is about standing together." Mia still held onto his hand, her small frame trembling slightly. James could feel the weight of her innocence pressing against him, intertwining with his fear. "Daddy?" she whispered, her voice quavering. "We're going to be okay, Mia," he replied, despite the uncertainty gnawing at his insides. He glanced back at the man, whose face was twisted with rage, fingers curling into tight fists. The crowd started to find its voice, a ripple of murmurs and low gasps filling the air. "Who is he?" someone asked, blurring the air with unanswered questions. Tension cracked like thunder, and he could feel the encroaching fear tightening around them like a noose. The man scanned the room, his gaze darting from face to face, looking for an ally, but finding only hostility. "You think you're safe here?" he spat, his words venomous. "You're nothing. Just strays trying to belong where you don't. You need me to realize it." In that moment, Clara stepped forward, her resolve firm. "You don't get to decide who belongs here and who doesn't. This is a community built on support, on love. You're the one who doesn't belong." The crowd reacted, a wave of voices rose in unison, murmuring their agreement. James felt a stirring within him, a mix of anger and empowerment rising up against the fear. Could they really stand together against this threat? "Leave us alone," a woman yelled, her voice joined by others. Suddenly, clarity struck James. He needed to protect his daughter, but not just through fear-based action. "Mia, take a step back. Stay close to Clara." As Mia moved away, James felt every nerve in his body tighten. He decided that he wasn't going to allow this man to control the moment any longer. "You're wrong," he called out, taking a step toward the stranger. "This place is where people come together to heal, to hope, to share. We don't need you." The man's expression shifted, momentarily disarmed by the unity that was forming. But then anger roared back in full force. "You think this will change anything? You'll regret." Before he could finish, Clara reached for James's arm, drawing him back. "Wait," she urged, her eyes wide. He didn't understand why she wanted to stop him. But the moment she looked toward the crowd, he caught on. Because in that sea of faces, a few people were stepping forward, willing to stand between them and the man who threatened their peace. "Let us not escalate," a man from the back said, his voice steady. "If you want to leave, you can. But you can't destroy what we've built together." Would the man listen? Would he realize he didn't hold the power he thought? The answer hung in the air, fraught with tension and uncertainty. As James stared into the stranger's eyes, he remembered another fighting spirit, his daughter's optimism shining bright. A flicker of hope ignited within him. Would they prevail, Or would they be caught in a struggle greater than their own fears? The answer loomed just beyond reach, like a shadow ready to pounce. James stood tall, adrenaline coursing through him as he faced the angry man. The words that had bubbled up, fueled by a mix of fear and courage, formed a line of defense not just for himself, but for Mia, for everyone in the room searching for safety. His heart beat in time with the chorus of support rising from the crowd surrounding him. "Leave!" Someone shouted again, their voice fierce, bolstering the confidence James felt swelling within him. Clara was beside him, unwavering, her presence grounding him amidst the chaos. With a united front, the crowd stepped forward, inch by inch reclaiming this space that had been lit by joy, not fear. Mia peered out from behind Clara's skirt, curiosity mixed with the innocence of a child unaware of just how close they'd come to losing everything. "Are we okay?" she whispered, eyes darting from the man to her father. James knelt beside her, cupping her cheek in his hand. "Yes, sweet girl. We are together, and we are safe. Just remember, we are all here for each other." The man's rage was palpable, like a storm breaching the calm. He glanced back at James, eyes blazing. "You're all foolish. This is just a game. You think your voices matter?" But the growing unity echoed louder than despair. "Yes. We matter," shouted a woman from the back, and a ripple of agreement surged through the room. The community held its breath, a collective heartbeat of resilience beating in defiance of aggression. Placing a firm hand on James's shoulder, Clara squeezed, urging him to stay steadfast. "Look around, James. Family is a choice, and you are part of this family now." James felt a flood of warmth engulf him, different from anything he had known in the cutthroat world of corporate success. This was raw, powerful, a bond born from struggle and shared hopes. Facing the man again, he said with conviction, "You don't get to decide who belongs here. We choose each other." For the first time, the man faltered. It was a crack in his fury. James could see the uncertainty flicker across the man's face, like a candle flickering in the wind. The crowd pressed closer, empowered by the moment, creating an impenetrable wall of support. "Let us show him we're not afraid," someone shouted from the back, voicing the collective sentiment. "This is our home." The shouts rang out, echoing with sincerity and strength. The man stepped back, feeling the weight of their unity. "You think this will hold?" He hesitated, glancing around at the resolute faces, perhaps realizing his hold was weak against something so vibrant and alive. At that moment, with a heart swollen with pride, James stepped forward. "It's not just about holding, it's about building. We're part of something larger than fear." And instantly, the air shifted. The tension fractured like ice underfoot, and a palpable sense of shared purpose swept through. The man's bravado slipped, retreating slightly as he became encased in the warmth of humanity's fight for what was right, what was kind. That he turned, fading back into the night as the community breathed out, the fear dissipating like mist before the sun. James's heart soared, and he was enveloped in a surge of relief mixed with pride as he looked down at Mia, whose face now sparkled with hope. "Did we win?" she asked, innocent and bright-eyed. "Yes, sweetheart. Yes, we did," he replied, pulling her close as he stood again. Around them, murmurs turned to chatter, laughter bubbling once again like fresh spring water. The crowd celebrated the triumph together, their bonds now stronger than any threat that lingered. "Let us sing," Clara called out, her exuberance infectious, leading the group back into the joyous spirit of the evening. Mia tugged at his hand, and as they joined the throng, music filled the room, lifting every heart. Laughter danced around them, mixing with the festive melodies, each note a testament to resilience and togetherness, to a community that had seen darkness but would always rise. James glanced around, joy breaking through the last remnants of fear. As they sang, he realized this was a new beginning, not just for him, but for Mia, too. They might not have a conventional home, but this place, filled with vibrant energy and love, was theirs. It would be a long journey ahead, dotted with challenges. But standing there, in the warmth of voices and the glow of twinkling lights, James understood they weren't just surviving anymore. They were truly living together. And just as they finished the final note, a simple thought washed over him like a blessing: family isn't just blood, it's the moments we choose to keep close. Now, you need to take action. Subscribe immediately to this channel so you don't miss out on more exclusive stories like this. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and let us know we're doing a great job. Don't just sit there, comment your thoughts and feelings about this powerful ending. And share instantly with at least 5 friends who need to be inspired by this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Only true fans understand the importance of backing our channel. Don't wait not even one more second to share.